Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minority Caucus. Tonight we are here discussing matters arising, and I know that what is foremost on your mind is the matter of the NPP petition before the courts of Ghana. Yes, the Supreme Court of Ghana. Well, have the evidences been filed or not? And are we going to see the beginning of the case on April 16th? These and other matters arising are what we'll be discussing this evening. With me in the studios are Madame Frances Esiam, a development consultant and then a member of the NPP. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you. And
then Salam Mustafa, a very young, affable young man who also belongs to the NPP. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, first of all, let me notify you that, yes, the NPP has successfully filed the evidence and the affidavits as ordered by the Supreme Court. In all, over 500,000 pieces of paper had to be filed at the registry of the Supreme Court yesterday. We're still continuing to pursue the case and ensuring that justice is done. The evidences are such that, evidence was filed also to support the affidavits that we're putting. And so you find a lot of evidence that amounts to about 11,916 pink sheets that are covering 11,916 polling stations. And in all, we're asking for the annulment of over 4.6 million votes. Roughly about 4.46% of the total valid votes cast in election 2012. Each of the things that we talk about in terms of the 5 categories, that is overvoting, we speak of no verification, we speak of no signature for presiding officers, we speak of words and figures do not match, among others, is backed by a lot of pink sheets. So yes, finally, we believe that the things are on course and the good Lord will rule in our favor. I have in my hand here this document, as you can see, already filed before the courts, which is the affidavit of Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, which contains exactly what it is that we are seeking before the Supreme Court. Also filed yesterday were pieces of audiovisual evidence that amounted to some, you can see here, presidential election petition in the matter, and this is the affidavit. This is the affidavit that responds to that particular matter. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss the issues that stem out of it. So let me go to Madame Frances Esiam. How do you feel knowing that our affidavit has finally been filed?
Well, I'm excited and elated because this is an epoch making periods in our political history as a nation. Briefly, election 2012 saw a lot of irregularities at the end of it. We saw some, I'll call it some haste by Dr. Farijan and the EC instead of tarrying a while so that the proper thing could be done. They went too fast. Comparatively, I'm not even looking at the Kenyan situation. I'm looking at the Ghanaian situation. Would it have been worth our while if the EC, in all fairness, knowing that it's a human institution, knowing that we had about 26,000 polling stations or just a little over, knowing that it had cited some 22 polling stations which were illegal, unknown to some other actors and players in the game, knowing that verification, which the law, that's a CI 75, has actually, demanded, it's mandatory, had been flouted. So as an electoral commission, even though we do not have it in our laws, that you should announce results in 3 days or 1 day, there's nowhere in our statutes, are there? I stand to be corrected, that the EC shall announce results within 72 hours of voting. So you could at least
have sought to
not even correct the wrongs, but look at the plausible evidence on the face of it. And randomly, it'll give you an indication that I, Dr. Farijan, should consult my cohorts or colleagues, excuse my Yarikov, and knowing the potential or the delicate nature of elections in Africa, even worldwide, why don't I look at what, because things started coming out of the Mikwabenya, that is a lawyer, Honorable Lawyer Sarah Joasafo's place, an indication that something was going on wrong. Somebody was maneuvering, manipulating figures somewhere. So if in fairness, and as a true patriot, and as duty demands, even where danger calls, Dr. Farijan could have now done some random spot checks with his regional district officers. Look at Atahiru Jiga, Nigeria, is that the name?
Yeah.
You could see the beauty, even though it wasn't the best. Look at where Nigeria was coming from, snap ballot boxes and so on. There's a little digression to make it more homely to those who are listening to us and looking at us. Look at how they all surrounded the electoral commissioner, you know, and these were state electoral commissioners. Look at a federal as big as Nigeria. And 10 regions, you couldn't even let your regional, once they forwarded the things, I believe the next day, those who had everything at the commission could have surrounded you so that, you know, the Nigerian thing, and even when the opposition was drawing the attention of the EC, he said, yes, let your lawyers be taking note, don't interfere because we are also collating. And it was beautiful. Whatever the outcome, I believe Nigerians were satisfied, even if not 100%. But now we have some lull, as if we're sitting on a time bomb, as if some storm is about to break. Why? Ghanaians did not jubilate, Ghanaians were not happy. Now, with the evidence coming out of our MPP camp, you could realize that the NDC, you know, is actually shattered. When I say shattered, they are amazed because for the first time in Ghana's electoral history, for the first time in Ghana's political history, a political party has gone the whole hog, has called the bluff and put everything out there. We are not the originators of the pink sheets. The Electoral Commission gave it to us at the polling stations. For instance, in Adenta, the forensic has proved that we have 76, you know. So if we have entrusted the entire security of this nation in terms of electoral security to the EC, my problem is, why didn't you just tarry a while, wait a while, you know, and, you know, pre-elections, the gerrymandering, the, what do you call it, the 45 constituencies, actually it was 90, and they were balkanized. But we're talking about 45, you know, even though we took the majority of that, this was 90 seats were created.
Okay.
And you could realize that Dr. Farijan, I remember from IEA meetings where there was this incalcitrance, intransigence. I can do it, nobody can. If you don't, you can go to court. Now we are here. And look at the wealth of evidence. I doubt if Dr. Farijan is sleeping well because, look, today I passed by. I think you saw me.
Yeah, I was there. I saw
and
you.
I was amazed. The photocopies are so clear that those people, those presiding officers, para-electoral commission staff at the polling stations, all those recruited people who thought, you can see the pink sheets there. Some of them look so faded, you know, you could barely. But let me tell you, the photo, they are so clear that even if God sent the angels to do the forensic audit at the Supreme Court, or even sit down and tally, and I mean, they would say, hallelujah, you've done a good job.
I can see.
Before my colleague comes in, you asked me how I felt. I was elated because I've already seen the evidence, not once, twice, but thrice. But the quantum of evidence, the speed with which we have worked, I'm talking of the MPP technical teams, under the able leadership of Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, our vice presidential candidate, you know, I mean, you can see that the man is a genius. I mean, he really is on top of the show. And if you can see the legal team, you know, and I believe that Nanedu Dankwa, His Excellency's guidance, I call him His Excellency, he's been foreign minister of this country before. He's presided over the United Nations Security Council before as chairman. So once an excellency, always an excellency. And soon to be, by God's grace. You could realize that Madame Gloria Kufu, Lawyer Addison, and the whole lot of them, you know. I mean, it's Asante Bedie Kwame Frax, you know. I mean, Professor Tefa, all of them there. I mean, it is a fantastic team. And you can see seasoned lawyers. And I don't believe that frivolity will be entertained by the Supreme Court. and we cannot embarrass ourselves. At the beginning, you know, we all had little hiccups, butterflies in our stomach. But as we saw the wealth of evidence, we said, wow, history will be made in Ghana. Because definitely, we didn't hit the streets. In fact, for some of us, we wanted to go the African way. But people should thank the leadership of the party, you know, that they saw wisdom and went the conventional, you know, MPP way and went to court. And Ghanaians should be assured that with the wealth of evidence, well, I don't want to jump to any conclusion, but I can assure our supporters, our members, and the entire Ghanaian fraternity and citizenry that what is going before the court, there is absolutely no way that President John Mahama, I mean, Aferijan announced, or, you know, Aferijan, what do you call it? What do you
declared
call it?
results.
Declared president.
Okay.
Aferijan declared president, because we've not accepted it.
Okay.
Will ever continue to sit on after this case is determined, because it'll take the devil or Satan to come out of hell and say hell no, because we are saying hell yes and heaven yes. Because look at this, 11,900 polling stations. I mean, it's a little over.
Okay, Auntie Francis, I would want you to take a break. Salam, just come in briefly for me. When you juxtapose what you have seen, what we've worked with what the NDC said, briefly, we have no evidence, any idiots can go to court, statements like that. Really, what's the point?
Nana Kofi, first of all, let me say good evening to all our viewers. And let me say a very big congratulatory message to the team that has worked on the MPP's evidence. It's been long days, long hours of tiring efforts, and indeed, it's paid off. I'm sure you are feeling the brunt of it.
Yes, it's a pretty painful exercise.
Yes. But under the abled leadership of Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, we have done a yeoman's job, and the evidence is overwhelming. Ghanaians will be shocked at what is lying at the court. It's overwhelming. Nana Kofi, this election was highly rigged.
Okay, so if you would hold on for me at that stage, I would have to take a break now. When I come back, we'll delve into the substantive matter itself and tell you what it is that you are itching to hear. All right, thank you for waiting for us. This is Minority Caucus. My name, as usual, is Nana Kofi Opondama. Now, initially, I showed you a wrong document with the case of Dr. Bawumia's affidavit. So I want to correct that error and show you precisely what it is that you can see here. If you take a closer look, I'm waiting for my cameraman to get it right. And then, if you take a very close look, you'd realize that, yes, affidavit of Dr. Mahamadou. Okay, it's down there, so I'd have to come up. Yeah, affidavit of Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, pursuant to the court directions on memorandum of issues and mode of trial, dated 2nd April 2013. Now, it goes on to say that I, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, gives his house number and all of that. And I would want to read a couple of points to you as well. Point 7, that after the second respondent had conducted its biometric registration exercise, it announced a figure to the general public of a provisional number of registered voters with a little less than 13 million. And then we look at those issues of the register that we're also here. There's also the case of the particular voters register that was used to conduct this election. We claim that we do not know exactly which register was used to run this election. And then it also says, point 17, listen to this, that in the list of 705 names from its various diplomatic missions abroad furnished by the second respondent in response to the interrogatories that the petitioner served the second respondent, there were 51 instances of repeated names, total of 102. In all these instances but one, the two identities had the same name, same age, same gender, same location, same assigned polling station, but a different voter ID number. In one instance, the name of Abdullah Inusa Jamila a 22-year-old, was also with New York as a location, and a male is found alongside the name Abdullahi Unusa Jamila, a 22-year-old, also with New York, but a female. The two were assigned the same polling station, but with different voter ID numbers. Now you can see a couple of others as well. I'll read to you point 18 and I'll come back to my studio discussion. Point 18 says that the scrutiny of some of the voter ID numbers supposedly belonging to some of these foreign registered voters could not be found on the general voters register. That is to say that they were or are fake identities. These fake ID numbers for the multiple names also had a unique pattern. For most of them, the pattern was to add 1 or to subtract 1 from the 5th digit of the ID number and subtract 2 from the last digit. For example, Abdul Mumun Bashiru, number 151 on the list, with voter ID card number 185-280-1842, and Abdul Mumun Bashiru, number 572 on the list, with voter ID card number 185-290-1842. These are some of the irregularities that were noted with the voter's ID card number. Now, Mustafa, noting all of these things, really, how do you feel as a member of the MPP?
Nana Kofi, that list, the diasporan list, has over 100 names repeated.
We've shown it here on the show.
Yes,
before.
I think, yes, that's true. Over 100 names repeated. It will interest you to know that upon inquiry, they brought us a list of 241. They claimed they registered 241,000 people abroad. Upon interrogatory filed, requesting the names be brought to us, they brought us only 705. Okay? And within the 705, over 100 names are repeated. Indeed, the job was shortly done such that you pick a name and you see that it's been repeated somewhere, just that 3 digits have been changed earlier, the first name that you saw. That's how shoddy they try to cover up their tracks. But like I was saying before we went on the break, it was well planned and well executed. Why do I say so? After the biometric registration process to compile a new voters register, Afarijan and the EC told us that 12.7 million people were registered. And they were going to do a cleanup exercise. And we believe that when you are going to do a cleanup exercise, the number would drop. Interestingly, they brought out 14 million. That's 1.3 million more after cleanup. So it means cleaning up, the numbers rather went up than reducing. We inquired and they gave us, some mumbo jumbo. In the interest of peace, we went into the elections. But it will interest you to know that till date, we don't know which register we use for the elections, because it appears that we have 2 registers.
Not 2, actually 4.
Because if you look at the differential between the parliamentary results and presidential, there's over 127,000 votes difference. How? It's not just possible. For the 2 registers, it's not just possible.
Okay. Now, I would want to read this point 25, to match up with what you have said. And this is point 25 of the affidavit that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia filed before the Supreme Court. And this is what it says. That the figures from the pink sheets for the 11,819 polling stations indicates that the total number of registered voters was 7,067,129. I repeat the figure. 7,067,129. However, the second respondent's voters register for these same polling stations indicate a voter population of 6,146,572. Let me repeat that. 6,146,572. A difference of almost 1 million registered voters, specifically 920,557, as shown in the table below. And if my cameraman will be able to capture it, you see that that table has been provided here, detailing exactly what it is that went wrong. You can see the count of the red sheets, the EC voters register, and the figures given there. You can see the ballots issued on red sheet, voters register on red sheet, and then register total. So what we are saying here in this particular point is that the figures that were given on the pink sheet as total number of registered voters vary from what the Electoral Commission gave us as the total number of registered voters in those same pink sheets. And the difference is almost 1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know which register we used till date. Nana Kofi, like I was building a premise. It will interest you to know that every elections, we use teachers as returning officers. In these elections, GSS will not release our teachers. These teachers know numbers and are able to detect any time there's pattern of numbers. But because there's an agenda, they refuse to release the teachers to come and man the police stations. And therefore, the people they brought, only God knows from where they got them. They came to do whatever they did. Interestingly, God being on our side, like we kept saying, the battle is the Lord's. They did a bad job. Horrible. Bad, terrible job for the NDC and the EC. Because you pick a common calculation and they are not able to give a tally. Nana Govi, there's one confusion out there the NDC is pushing. They say, oh, there's no overvoting because you cannot find a police station where the votes exceed the number of people registered in the polling station. But that's a fallacy.
But actually, there are instances where the number of people who voted is more than the number of people on the register.
But the bulk of the issue is, in a polling station, the number of people who vote is recorded on the pink sheet. Indeed, all that we are presenting to the EC is documentation, of the EC's own document it used for the elections. We have not used any foreign document. We have not manufactured anything from anywhere. We have sat down to analyze whatever the EC did on the 7th and 8th of December.
Now, Auntie Frances, I want you also to listen to this, and then as well as the public, so you get to know the case that Dr. Bawumia is going to present to the Supreme Court. And this is what it says on point 28, that prior to the December 2012 elections, the second respondent and its chairman emphasized to the general public that any polling station where overvoting occurred would have the results annulled. And indeed, we have presented to the court a video of the Electoral Commission chairman actually making this point. Now, this was to protect the integrity of the entire elections at the polling station, as any incident of overvoting undermines the integrity of the polls. It is for this reason that the second respondent annulled votes cast in one. The presidential election in Upper West Akim, Arabic Primary School A, Esuko, polling station code E121703, and 2, the parliamentary election in Tano North, Tanoso Methodist Primary School, with code G061304. That equally, prior to the December 2012 elections, and after the enactment of CI 75, Regulation 32, that provides that the voter shall go through biometric verification process before being allowed to vote, the second respondent issued the famous directive, no verification, no vote. This was again to protect the integrity of the voters' register in the entire election. That at a press conference in Accra, the chairman of the Electoral Commission also said, and I'm quoting, let me also share with you some of the firm decisions that we have taken together with the political parties. NV. No verification, no voting. And by verification, we mean that everybody will have to be verified biometrically. We have agreed in principle that where the votes found in the ballot box outnumber the persons verified to vote, the result of that polling station will be cancelled.
Beautiful.
Attached herewith and marked as Exhibit MBA is a video recording of the relevant portions of the press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll take a very quick break at this point. Chew on these things. When we come back, Auntie Frances will have a take. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we went on a break, I just read to you some very interesting aspects of Dr. Bawumia's presentation. I'd want to end my readings with just one more point. That 31, that in consequence thereof, the total votes cast in the following 4 polling stations in the Nalerugo-Gambaga constituency in the northern region were annulled by the second respondent, as saying were cast without prior biometric verification. The big English means that some constituencies in the Nalerugo-Gambaga constituencies had their polling stations had their results annulled because they voted without biometric verification. And these are the constituencies. You can check for yourself. Police polling station, Lagbinsi, code H23105. Please forgive me, my friends up north, but I'm having a serious difficulty in pronouncing some of these things. Nyeri polling station, code H252302. And Temporary Booth polling station, Bongni, code H251504, and DA Primary School polling station, Kolgona, code H252301. Auntie Frances, here's a situation where the Electoral Commission gave rules and regulations. Absolutely. They abided by the rules and regulations in some polling stations and neglected some. How does that make you feel? Is that the basis of saying that it was a planned, well-orchestrated thing?
It was obviously well-planned and orchestrated. And if you look at the categories of the petitioners, you would realize that that category of voting without biometric, without the verification, well, it's serious, because I think it's in excess of about 200 and something thousand.
I think it's more than 1 million votes.
Yeah, I'm saying it's even in excess of, let me just, because people may think that this is all that there is to it. These are just examples in the sworn affidavit. But if I'm even saying, even if it's in excess of 200 and something thousand plus, it's enough even to have overturned
the results.
The results. Because, you know, the Supreme Court has narrowed everything down to whether malpractices and irregularities, were they enough to overturn the outcome of the December 2012 elections in Ghana. And absolutely any of the categories fit in. Now, CI 75, clearly, Dr. Farijan, I don't believe that the MPP or any other political party, you know, came out with a constitutional instrument to Parliament. You took it there, it was fine-tuned, you wouldn't listen to anybody, you know, and there was nothing that in case of A, B, C, D, and the emphatic word is shall. So there is no leeway. I'll use an economic word here. It's ring-fenced. There shall be no voting without verification. And it is in a law, a statute, passed by the legislature in Ghana's, I think that was the 5th Parliament of the 4th Republic. So there is no way around it. And if you deduct 1 million from the total valid votes cast, I mean, it's a huge number. And we know some of these votes went in favor of a particular, because the matter is before court, but it went in favor of a particular candidate.
Most of them actually.
Yes. So are we saying that with over the 5 categories, over voting, voting without verification, we also had same serial, what do you call it?
number for different polling
codes for
stations.
the different polling stations, you know, and then we also have no signatures by the presiding officer as prescribed by the EC's own rules and regulations. And then even the worst part of it is that somebody writes a figure, a word cannot match.
Okay, if you hold on for me at this moment, I'll announce the phone lines and viewers can join in the discussion. 030-2211-701 through to 4. As I usually do, I'll repeat the number 030-2211-701 through to 4. The text lines, as always, remain 1760. Please call in, join in this discussion. Let your voice be heard as we attempt to let our votes count. Auntie.
Well, briefly, so I'm looking really at the technical and mathematical aspect because we use our thumbs to vote. I'm not really interested in the propaganda of the NDC or otherwise because those are irrelevant to the issues before court. They are highly irrelevant. You look at these 5 categories and talking about 4 million, 4 million votes, thereabouts. And you're telling me that in an election where probably the total outcome should be close to some 30 million, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, votes. And are we trying to say that 4 million votes, they don't matter? It matters. We have to find out what happened, or else we'll bring this country on the brink of chaos one day.
Okay, I have a caller from Tamale. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, well,
can you please lower the volume on your television set? It's giving us very bad feedback.
Yeah, I've done it.
Okay, thank you very much, Senior.
My name is A. Rahman Samari, reaching you from Tamale Central. And I would like to say good evening to your family, Madam Francis Isiam, as well as my big brother. He has led the northern politics to us, that is Mr. Mustafa Salam. Let me say good evening to him. Have you seen what Afarijan has caused us? Strike here, strike there. Nobody voted for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in the 3 northern regions here. I am telling you, I am not stupid to change free education with Ibn PKK. Northern region, John Mahama being a northerner, northern region here, come and witness how NPP perform in the 3 northern regions here. We perform massively. John Mahama being the northerner. Even when Professor Mills was in house, nobody voted for NPP like we did this time. Simple because we know what we are going through. You take a look at the social intervention policies that the NPP has brought to us to alleviate the hardship and poverty against people. But you could see that Electoral Commission and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, they have used our money to rig this election. And Allah will never forgive Afarijan and John Dramani Mahama with the kind of difficulties that we are going through.
Thank you very much. I would have to take Adamuda from Wa. Adamuda, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Good evening.
Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Yeah, good evening to Madam Frances and my friend Salam and yourself.
Yes, sir.
In fact, we are, I don't know what to say. We are so worried. Is that the extent to which these people stole this money from us? Sometimes I see some, but today I'm overwhelmed by the evidence and by what you are telling us. We are just shocked that these people can be crude and mean to this extent. But I want to make an appeal to you that we in the Upper West region also want the Let My Vote campaign to rock here, because the Upper Westerners are still in darkness and they are illuding themselves that they have won these elections genuinely. And we want to prove to them that we have won the elections, and by what they are seeing, some of them are crying. Yesterday, there was a flight in Upper West region trying to also collate affidavits to send to Accra. Can you believe that some of them they ran away? Some have a friend who was caught and he ran away because he cannot stand in court. He doesn't want his voice to be heard in court.
Okay.
And now these people are pushing him to go and stand for him to swear. Oh, it's a shame.
Thank you very much, Adamuda. I have Mohammed from Kejabi. How are you, Senior?
I'm fine. Good evening.
Good evening, Chief. You are my last caller.
Mr. Opondamwa, please, I want your real contact number to be having information from you.
Yes, sir.
Just for me, for God's sake.
I will try my best, Senior.
I want to ask about Justice Pega's issue concerning my flag bearer.
Justice
Where
Pega,
has he landed the case to?
what Nana Akufo-Addo has done is respond to that particular matter. He has asked that the court throw away the case of Justice Pega and award punitive damages against Justice Pega for attempting to indulge, the institutions of state in such dangerous frivolities.
Thank you. Thank you. Apart from that, you see what NDC is doing to Ghana today. Look, there are strikes all over. And then you told us the economy, the meat has been chewed to the bone. And today, you have gotten enough money to pay to parliamentarians. You have gotten enough money to dish out to people unnecessarily. Please let us all put our hands together, pray for God Almighty, so that Nana Addo could win this court case, so that we'll all be released. Thank you very much.
Thank you too very much. So I'll come back to my studio discussants. Madam Francis Assem, so what do you have to say as regards all of this? I would have to apologize to you, my viewers, because there's a lot that we'll have to go through, but time will not allow us. I promise that we'll try and bring back this issue on Wednesday so that we'll discuss it and give you more and more information as regards the MPP's court case.
Nana, if you're looking strictly on the face of the statistics, which is all these issues are about, I mentioned all the categories, and we had a total valid votes cast as 10,195,000. And when you have mass violations, lawlessness, electoral lawlessness, more practices, over 4 million votes, it's a serious anomaly. Very, very serious anomaly. And I'm saying that in courts, it's a question of the categories. For instance, where there were overvotes by the affidavits, that's in about 2,065 polling stations. If they were annulled as required by law, with what the first respondent, John Dramani Mahama, would have had only 49.1% of the votes, and Nana Addo Akufo-Addo would have had 49.3% of the votes, calling for a runoff. We're talking of
just over
December, just over voting. If in 2,279 polling stations, results were annulled due to voting without biometric verification. And this is where I have a very serious issue with the Electoral Commission. Very, very, because this is a new thing we've introduced. We're all excited, worked very hard, pumped in resources, logistics. As a candidate, what I went through with that biometric registration, my brother, over 75,000 Ghana cedis to ensure that we participated, pulled out people, did a lot of voter information, house to house to get people to understand that, look, it's important. Your vote matters. If even these polling stations, 2,279 were annulled, it again brings John Dramani Mahama to 49.13 and Nana Addo Dankwa to 49.38, calling for a runoff.
Okay.
If we come again to the other polling stations, like the same serial numbers for different polling stations, Nana moves up to 57.55, John Mama 41.1%. I'll not even bore the listening public. It is on and on and on, and these things will definitely go before court. Yeah. But I'm saying that Dr. Afarijan has done this country a huge disservice, because the Electoral Commission is a technical-based organization. It's strictly you're dealing with figures, you're dealing with statistics, you're dealing with numbers, you are dealing with, as we'll say, numero. You are dealing with numbers. You're not dealing with literature. Oh, there'll be literature, but it's technical literature. And you see, the Statistical Service in Ghana must be the first group to be held before any competent court of jurisdiction. Why do I say that? You could remember when the Honorable Ofosu-Ampofo was Minister for Local Government, and there was this delay of announcing the census. Yeah. It was all part of the beginning of the process, so that they could stampede it, because if the census result, when Madam, what was it, Grace Bediako, excuse me, went in was actually the journalists had piled up. There'd been so much hue and cry. And we felt that a lot of foreigners had been counted in the census. I mean, the evidence was there for us to see. And we are looking at the National Identification Authority. We are talking because is it right for foreigners to be registered in Ghana when I can't go to Togo or Burkina and just walk in and register?
Okay.
In the sense that 1 minute, you're looking at the National Health Insurance. These people come in, avail themselves, and then we pay tax. Workers pay as you earn, and a percentage is taken off. They don't pay tax, and they move across the borders and take our benefits. And today we're on the hog. Just give me 2 minutes to finish this up, or a second. I don't
have that time.
A second to finish this up. Now you look at Kojo Afarijan, Dr. Kojo Afarijan, pardon me. We were meeting with him at IEA, different forums. And I could see he was bigger than life. The Statistical Service was created an institutional blunder. And the gerrymandering started from there. Then you moved on to, after the delay, the Minister for Local Government, on and on and on. Then the finality was the gerrymandering. Part of it was thwarted, part of it went through. And I remember, some NDC members saying that if this thing goes through, the creation of districts and constituencies, then that's it. So the Supreme Court should know that we do not have confidence in the election that went forth. And with all these categories, you sit down, let's assume you NDC, MPP, you are whatever technical, and we sit down, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. You pick yours, is upheld. Not upheld. At the end of it is a collation of the totality of the categories. And I believe that, inshallah, by the end of this court case, which will be very, very, very soon, I don't see this thing going beyond 3 months. We should see a clear winner in the person of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Thank you very much,
and I'll have
Madam
John Mahama to pack his things out of the Jubilee House.
This is Nana Akufo-Addo wishing you a very good night. It's been quite a show. Salam Mustafa, sorry you were not able to have your closing comments. But join me again on Wednesday, and we'll give you more information concerning this court case. The Lord is on our side, and the battle still continues to remain the Lord. Good evening.